On first down, they hand off to Marlon Mack. Huge hole, 50-yard line. He's at the 40, still going near sideline. He's at the 10. He's at the 5, and he will score. Touchdown, Marlon Mack. Touchdown, INDY. And again, it's picked off. It's Darius Leonard. Leonard with a second INT, and he's streaking down the near sideline. He's at the 40. He's at the 30. He's at the 20. He's going to go. A pick six for the Maniac. Kenny Moore gets to Deshaun Watson. That's a sack for Kenny Moore. Kenny has a pick and now a sack in the game.
Horseshoe is back, baby. The horseshoe is back.
How's it going, Colts Nation? Welcome back to the Bring the Juice podcast. I'm your co-host, Derek Larger. Joining me, as always, is Cody Felger. Cody, how you doing today?
Hey, man, I'm excited. The Colts just made some rebranding changes to a lot of things, which we're going to touch on today in this podcast. So I'm pumped, man, to talk about these things because they're definitely unique and they're definitely different.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure everyone has noticed there's been a couple different uniform and logo changes that have been made. None that are, absolutely crazy out of this world, but it is still worth mentioning and taking a closer look at some of the things that have been going on with the uniforms. First thing we're going to kind of look at here, we'll start with the smallest adjustment that they've made, and we'll kind of work our way towards some other stuff. So first thing we want to mention is the colors. Obviously, you still have your speed blue from before. You have your white, traditional white, their gray face mask, which is definitely interesting for me. And then the anvil black, which is a new color we haven't seen. And they're actually going to put that in the Nike swoosh on the away uniforms, which is certainly interesting. Cody, what do you think of the additions of the colors, including the anvil black?
Yeah, the anvil black was certainly an interesting addition to the Colts color palette there. And I'm interested to see kind of some of the combinations that the Colts can bring now with this new color palette. And specifically, like, do you bring in black pants, for example? Do you have kind of a alternate uniform that features, black jerseys? There's a lot of different things that you can do with that. And so I'm excited, man, to see what they do with that. And everything else seems pretty much the same in terms of, the same color and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, overall, the anvil black is really an interesting addition to this Colts color scheme. I think it just, I love the traditional Colts uniforms that the Colts have worn for, seems like forever almost. But I'm not opposed to kind of changing it up a little bit. Kind of, you look at some of those other NFL teams that have all these really awesome alternate jerseys. And you're like, man, I like the Colts color rush uniforms, but it's not really that much of a change. It's just the blue pants. Mm-hmm. But I like kind of mixing it up a little bit. I like bringing more style. Like you love tradition and you believe in tradition. I know Jim Irsay is a big tradition guy, but come on, let's change some things up. And so I like this edition. I like the things that it can give you. I'm really pumped for it, man. I'm excited just for it's a small edition and it's notable, but I think a lot of people might just kind of be like, oh, whatever. But for me, it's exciting because now you can add, you can just do so many different things, like I mentioned.
Yeah. So now that moves over to another thing that we have here, which is the new Wordmark that the Colts are now going to be using. Everyone kind of knows the traditional one. It's a much more personified font. It's a bigger font and it's a little bit shorter. But now you're getting more of a Roman type of font here, but now you're getting a few of the indents and the C and the S, and it's more of a wide, smaller font, which is definitely really cool. And that's actually something that they're going to do with the helmets. They're going to put that Wordmark on the helmets there now. So that's going to be different. The color is actually a lot more vibrant on the helmets now with the blue stripe. And speaking of the indents in the new Wordmark, now you have indents in the numbers as well. The Colts said that they're trying to go back to some of the numbers that they have from the 1950s, 60s uniforms, which is certainly interesting. The font is a little bit bigger, it seems like. Obviously, it's going to kind of be the same way. Everyone's kind of looked at Kenny Moore's been talking a lot about, him being the model for these because everyone's seeing the 23. You can see the slight differences in the numbers there. What do you think, Cody, of the new Wordmark and how they're doing the numbers and how they're putting those on the helmets and on the jerseys?
Yeah, I like it. Like I mentioned, kind of with the jersey and the color scheme, I like it a lot. I think it makes you a lot more, I don't know, modern, I guess, and changing it up. And I like that from the Colts. And I'm just looking at the word mark that, the Colts have had for a long time. Like when you think of the Colts, you know exactly what the Colts font is. And now it's just different. It's sleeker. It just seems more modern. And it seems like, I like it. Like I'm looking at the Kenny Moore. He was kind of like the model that they posted there. And I kind of like it. I think it looks very clean, very fresh. And I think, that as you grow and evolve as a franchise, and as the league grows and evolves, you just got to change it up sometimes. And so I like that. I do like you mentioned the numbers. I think that looks pretty good too. It's definitely different than what you're used of. I feel like the Colts have worn something similar to that on occasion before, and so I'm glad that they're bringing it more, to their jerseys, kind of doing just minor tweaks to their jerseys, but ultimately changing things up a little bit. I'm all for it, man. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. It's just, something a little bit different, nothing too crazy, but it gives it something new to look at. And then basically what you have here, the last thing that the Colts really did in regards to changing up logos, their primary logo is basically the same. Nothing changing there. It's still the horseshoe. And then your historic logo, obviously with the horseshoe helmet on top of a horse, that's not changing. Just the new secondary logo, which is also the logo that they're going to be putting on the hats. Everyone's kind of noticed it. I've seen people on different ends of the aisle here with these, and that is they did the same thing with the numbers and the words. They put the little indents there for the C. It looks a lot more like a G in this aspect, if only it didn't have a lisp in there. But now the middle, instead of just, that square in the middle, now it's the shape of Indiana, which is definitely really cool. You have the shape of Indiana honoring the home state and community. You have the 7 Greenwich mirror for the horseshoe. And those are actually going to be on the hats now, which I definitely think is pretty cool. I think this is the biggest change for me, and personally, I'm a fan. I think this is a pretty cool new thing for them, and it definitely stands out. It's unique and it's special. What do you think about it, Cody?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I've seen some people who really don't like it. I personally do. I think it's unique. I think it's a little bit abstract, and I like, kind of like I mentioned, I like changing things up a bit. And so I like how it's the C for the Colt, and it looks like a horseshoe, and it's also the shape of Indiana. I think that's pretty cool. I like it a lot. It's similar to, I think the Pacers did something very similar to it with the Indiana shape within their logo and stuff. And so I'm personally a fan of it. I like that kind of change up from the traditional. I feel like the Colts have just had the same logos for so long. It's kind of refreshing to have something a little bit new. So I'm personally a fan of it. I like it a lot, but I know that not everybody who's listening and who is a Colts fan really is in love with it. I mean, some people love it, some people don't, but I'm personally a fan of it. Yeah, I really like just kind of these changes that the Colts have made. Little tweaks, but just consistently wanting to get better and consistently wanting to update and become more modern. I'm a fan of this a lot.
Yeah, and obviously with the direction that the NFL is heading right now with, a lot of different teams releasing new uniforms, well, the Colts aren't necessarily making new uniforms, but they figure, maybe we can make a few changes all of our own. So if you guys haven't seen if you haven't seen these or want more in-depth understanding of why the changes are going that way, be sure to check out the Indianapolis Colts page. There certainly is a lot more details, and you can see a lot more of the images for yourselves on that. I think that's going to do it for this one. That was our quick recap of the changes that we saw from the Indianapolis Colts logos, the word marks, and the numbers and everything else that goes with it. Thank you guys so much again for everything. And as always, go Colts.